I had no idea that the woman who blocked my driveway for 47 straight days would end up losing her BMW, her house, her HOA presidency, and her marriage all in the same week. But the moment I watched her $120,000 car get winched up onto that tow truck, wheels dangling like a defeated trophy, I knew the war was finally turning. And the craziest part, she thought I couldn't do anything. She thought she owned me. But she had no idea I owned the driveway she'd been trespassing on for years. My name is Marcus Wellington, and this nightmare began the week I moved into my late aunt's home in Willowbrook Estates. It wasn't some luxury gated community, just a quiet cul-de-sac with manicured lawns and retirees who waved from their porches like suburban NPCs. For me, it was a miracle. My 17-year-old daughter finally had her own room instead of a pull-out couch. My 78-year-old mother, who had maybe 2 good years left if she stayed on her medication schedule, finally had somewhere stable to live. I thought we'd finally caught a break after years of holding our lives together with duct tape and prayer. And then came Vivian Rothschild. Picture the final boss of all Karens. Perfectly highlighted blonde hair, navy power blazers, a smile that tells you she's already decided you're beneath her. She'd been HOA president for 8 years, double the allowed term limits, and she strutted around the neighborhood like she was elected by God, not by bored retirees at a potluck. Her BMW X7 was her crown jewel, white and spotless with the custom plate Roth SLD1, because humility apparently died the day she discovered luxury dealerships. 3 days after moving in, while I was unloading boxes from my truck, she pulled up behind me in that BMW, the engine humming like it was too good to breathe the same air as my old Ford. She stepped out smelling like a department store and said, "Excuse me, I'll need you to relocate your vehicle. My driveway is being professionally sealed, and I require temporary use of this shared access." Shared access. That phrase would end up becoming the funniest irony in this entire story. "How long we talking?" I asked, trying to stay polite because I'm the new guy, and new guys don't start wars on day 3. "A few days," she said, waving her hand like she was shooing away a mosquito. "Surely you understand proper maintenance." I moved my truck. I shouldn't have, but I did. Her BMW sat there for a week, then 2, then 3. Day after day, she'd stroll out with her clipboard crouch on her perfectly healthy driveway and inspect imaginary problems like she was NASA's head engineer. Meanwhile, I was hiking 3 blocks home every night, my mom was missing medical appointments, and my daughter stopped inviting friends over because, "Dad, our house looks like we're being evicted." I tried being nice. I tried waiting it out. I even asked politely if she was done yet. She smiled and said, "In these communities, we prioritize aesthetics, Marcus." She never bothered learning my name, even though I'd corrected her twice. She called me Michael for the first month. The real breaking point came the day I found a thick HOA violation envelope in my mailbox accusing me of obstructing her maintenance project. Her maintenance project involving my driveway. I was being cited for blocking my own driveway with my own vehicle that wasn't even parked there. That night, while flipping through the HOA bylaws like they were ancient scripture, something jumped out at me. Temporary parking allowances were limited to 72 hours. She'd been there for 14 days at that point. But the actual jaw-dropper was buried on page 47 in tiny print. HOA presidents couldn't serve more than 4 consecutive years without full re-election. Vivian had been ruling for 8. It was like discovering the main breaker panel behind a locked door. Suddenly the whole system made sense. She wasn't just petty, she was illegitimate. Nothing she was enforcing had legal standing. So I filed a counter-complaint citing both violations. I thought that might scare her. Instead, she escalated. She started taking photos of my house through the windows. She slid more violation notices under my door window treatments, temporary blinds, the alignment of my trash cans. She even mailed me a 3-page letter written in calligraphy like it was a wedding invitation from Satan. Every morning I'd look out the window and see her BMW squatting on my driveway like some smug German-engineered parasite. And every morning I felt a little piece of myself snap. The moment I realized things were getting dangerous was when my mom sat at the kitchen table, pill organizer open, hands trembling more than usual. "Marcus," She said, "How much longer will this woman keep me from seeing my doctor?" My mother never complains. That broke me. But nothing prepared me for week 3. I walked outside one morning to find her BMW barricaded by orange construction cones, caution tape, and laminated emergency utility inspection signs. She'd turned my driveway into a fake government work site. She even drew neon spray paint lines across the asphalt like she was mapping out underground pipelines. It looked like a toddler had gotten hold of a surveyor kit. I called the city. No scheduled work, no utility orders, nothing. Vivian was impersonating city authorities on my property. That evening I slumped at my kitchen table staring at her mess through the window, and for the first time I seriously thought about giving up. Maybe we were cursed. Maybe bad luck just followed us. Maybe I was making things worse by fighting back. I remember saying out loud, "What if I'm wrong? What if this is just how HOAs work? What if I'm the problem?" My daughter Zoe heard me. She walked over, put a hand on my shoulder and said, "Dad, you're not the problem. She is. Don't let her scare us out of our own home." That was the moment. The flip of a switch. The surge of current that told me the circuit wasn't blown, I just hadn't found the source yet. Entered Jake, my buddy from the fire department who moonlights doing property surveys. I called him out of desperation. He showed up with his laser equipment, looked around at the cones and spray paint and said, "Damn, dude, did you tick off a city planner or a preschooler?" We laughed, but only for a second, because Jake found something big, huge, earth-shattering. According to the 1987 easement agreement, the entire driveway, every square inch, belonged to me. Vivian had only a right to pass over it, not to block it, not to park on it, and definitely not to build a fake construction site on it. She'd been trespassing every single day. But it got better. Jake started talking about her property taxes, her mortgage modifications, contractor liens, financial discrepancies, and then he said words that made my stomach drop. She's under investigation by the state for tax irregularities. See, for years she'd been claiming deductions for maintenance of a driveway, the one that wasn't hers, the one that belonged to me. The entire empire she built, her HOA power plays her dominance. Her threats was funded by fraud, and she was panicking. That was why she doubled down on me. I wasn't just a nuisance, I was a weak link she couldn't afford. A few days later I got another unexpected visit, this time from her husband Bradford. His suit jacket was wrinkled, his tie was loose, and he looked like a man who hadn't slept since Obama's first term. "Marcus," he whispered, "things are bad. She's not thinking clearly. She's calling the mayor's office pretending to be a city engineer. She's drafting criminal complaints against you for interfering with her infrastructure project." "What infrastructure project?" I asked. He closed his eyes. The one she made up. He wasn't defending her. He was terrified of her. That night I sat at my table surrounded by evidence photos, documents, survey results, violations, her fake utility logs. I felt something I hadn't felt in years: clarity. For the first time I saw past the chaos. I saw the system like an electrical diagram, every wire, every broken connection, every short circuit. And I realized something important. I didn't need revenge, I needed consequences. So I drafted 3 formal complaints, one to Municipal Code Enforcement, one to the State Revenue Fraud Division, one to the Federal Postal Inspection Service for mail fraud. I sent all 3. Then I hand-delivered a certified notice to Vivian's gate telling her she had 72 hours to remove her vehicles and all unauthorized structures from my property. She refused the letter. Instead, she filed a restraining order claiming I was stalking her by photographing my own driveway. The hearing lasted 12 minutes. The judge dismissed her claim so fast, I don't think the court stenographer finished typing the word "ridiculous." But Vivian didn't take the hint. On the morning the 72-hour deadline expired, she unleashed her final meltdown. Anonymous building complaints, electrical code violations, noise disturbances. She tried everything. But the building inspector who showed up was Carlos, someone I had worked alongside on job sites for years. He took one look at my wiring and said, "Marcus, this is cleaner than most hospitals. Who the hell filed this?" When I told him, he said she's in trouble. Real trouble. By now, half the neighborhood hated her. Old ladies were parking 2 streets over because Vivian claimed their minivans disrupted aesthetic continuity. Couples had sold their homes because they couldn't afford the constant fines. and they all came to me with their stories. Vivian hadn't just been a tyrant, she'd been running a quiet campaign of harassment and intimidation for nearly a decade. But the real show, the one I waited 47 days for, came at dawn the next morning. 6:01 a.m. A flatbed tow truck rounded the corner like an avenging angel, followed by municipal code enforcement, followed by an off-duty officer I hired as a witness in case she tried any funny business. I stood at my kitchen window sipping coffee as the truck backed up my driveway. The hydraulic arms lowered, the chains rattled. One glorious metallic click echoed through the cul-de-sac, and then she burst out her front door. She was wearing a silk robe, slippers, and the expression of someone discovering their house was on fire. "Stop. You can't take my vehicles. This is HOA property." The officer walked up, calm and steady. "Ma'am, this man owns the driveway. You've been parking on private property without permission." No, you don't understand," she stammered. I have authority. I'm the HOA president." "Actually," he said, flipping through his notes, "your term expired 4 years ago." She froze. I will never forget that moment, her face cracking like porcelain. But it got better. Because when the tow operator began winching her BMW onto the flatbed, Vivian turned to me, lowered her voice, and said, "Marcus, I'll pay you $5,000 to stop this. Right now." She tried to bribe me, in front of an officer, on camera. The officer stopped writing mid-sentence. "Ma'am, did you just offer him money to prevent lawful enforcement?" She swallowed. I was offering compensation for the inconvenience." "That's enough," he said. They towed the BMW, then the Mercedes. Then code enforcement dismantled her fake construction fence piece by piece while she screamed on her front lawn about conspiracies and sabotage. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Some recorded videos. One guy brought popcorn. And me, I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. The system she weaponized for years was finally turning around to bite her. Word spread fast. That week, investigations opened on every level. Her husband moved out. Half the board resigned. And at the emergency HOA meeting, Vivian tried one last desperate move she brought. Binders of her fake utility logs, and presented them as evidence of her infrastructure oversight. She literally handed the room a full-color catalog of her crimes. When the officer attending the meeting asked, "Ma'am, are you admitting you conducted unauthorized work on someone else's property?" she said, "I'm showing you my maintenance documentation." The room exploded. That was it. That was the exact second her empire collapsed. She was removed as president. The state moved forward on tax fraud charges. The postal inspectors seized her mail logs. And her BMW, oh, that beautiful symbol of her entitlement, was auctioned off after she failed to reclaim it. And the script ends here exactly where it should, with the queen of the neighborhood dethroned not by revenge, but by her own arrogance. Sometimes the loudest tyrants fall the fastest once someone finally stands up and says, "No, not anymore."